Okay, time to get this under the road. So, my name is Kevin. I wanted to always try and keep a diary just because I'm vain and I also like talking about myself, but also for my own posterity and reflection, just to make sure when I actually review these videos, I'll be able to tell, and maybe you guys will also be able to tell when I started drinking the Lambda Kool-Aid. But before then, I'll try to keep this as unbiased as possible, and I'm going to talk about my observations, my preparation, and eventual speculations related to Lambda School. Depending on how long this gets, I might just cut it. I might move the speculation to another juicy video altogether. Overall though, this is the script that I have laid out today, and I'm going to try to walk through my experience. So the first part, graduated studying business 2013, and I took one semester of Java where I realized that I wasn't smart enough to be in computer science. Fast forward to about 2019, I decided that I got sick of my current career track, decided to quit my job and try going through web development. And the long story short, the reason why I chose web development was mostly because of this roadmap and through the advice of a couple other friends I've had. So when people want to go to computer science to become a software engineer, they mostly tend to target the back end, or sometimes a lot of IT people tend to go from IT into DevOps. And I realized that was a lot of competition. I would be competing with four-year students who had probably way smarter than me, had an understanding of algorithms, of efficiency, memory management, allocation, all that weird buzzwords that I don't know, and I'd probably get destroyed by them. However, most of them probably don't have a lot of design courses, or they probably only took one semester of React, which is a framework what I'm hearing is like super popular right now. So I decided that if I wanted to go into web development, I might be able to better compete with them in terms of a career change. So this is not related to my passion of coding. This is just a purely practical option that I picked. That was from my analysis of the industry. So if I wanted a job as soon as possible from being unemployed, web developer was the way to go. So I first decided, all right, cool. I'll probably try out, look at web developer resources, and a common one that kept coming up. So don't buy this at $33. Sorry, Colt, but try to actually get this at a cheaper discount. It sometimes goes off to be like $15 or something, or maybe if you're really cheap. Actually, at $33, it provides pretty good value, but I got it for like $15. This web developer bootcamp got really good ratings. It is a bit dated. It came out in 2015. It's kind of teaches you jQuery, and I didn't even get through all of it, right? I got through about half of it when I heard about Lambda School. But before I move on to Lambda School, I just want to say that this web developer bootcamp got me situated really well. Even the small amount of money that I paid for it still seemed like it was very worth it, and I only got halfway through. I was told that if someone could get through this course back in 2015, that was enough for a career change. That was enough to actually get an intern or junior developer position. Now these days, I think the landscape is a little bit more competitive. I was told that if you do very well in this specific course and you follow all the instructions, you still might not be able to get a job. It's also a little bit dated. It also doesn't teach React. I was halfway through web development course when I heard about Lambda. And the first thing I heard about Lambda, I was just Googling various coding boot camps because I was always on the hunt for better and better resources. And that's when I came across the Lambda challenge. As you can see, I already made an account, and I basically signed up. And with the knowledge that I had from the bootcamp, I completed this challenge in about 13 minutes. I thought it was fairly straightforward. And after I finished the challenge, they asked for my email, fill out an application. Sure, I filled that out, sent it in. They got back to me within, it was an automatic email, which gave me the pre-coursework and the Slack channel. And this is not the Lambda School Slack channel, but this is like the Lambda School entry Slack channel. There's actually two different workspaces there. I did the pre-course in about a day, and then I emailed the admission staff, like Lambda admissions, and they gave me back another email which had an ISA and other stuff. I did that, and then another day they gave me an acceptance. It was a really painless process for me. It felt like I was signing up for like a newsletter, to be honest. I think that they made it kind of frictionless, but as I understand, and when I was reading the process on Slack channels, I think a lot of other students had frustrations, and I'll have more suggestions for that later on. I think what might have contributed to my fast turnover was that I, without trying to be vain here, I thought myself I was a pretty attractive student. I had no prior commitments. I showed that I was able to get through the program. I didn't need a loaner laptop. I didn't need a stipend. I have housing. I'm unemployed, so I'm completely able to dedicate all my time to Lambda School, and I did well in the challenge. So I guess that I just ticked off all their boxes that they were looking for in a student that they can easily, make employable. So that was my whole entire process. To be honest, I personally had no criticism coming from my experience, but these criticisms come from seeing other students' experience. And what would be nice is that in this pre-course, how hard is it to just add not another lesson, but just add the ISA and add the hello sign here. And the hello sign was another software link that you use to sign the acceptance of the student code of conduct, basically. Just have the student code of conduct here. Just make it part of the pre-course itself. I don't think it needs to be another separate email because students will all have access to this. Unless this gets wiped out, I think, then maybe I guess that makes sense. But, or why not do both? Send an email and then have the pre-course that the students can refer to here, because it's just all a giant checklist. And another part was the ISA. I also thought was, actually that's kind of the big reason why I ended up choosing Lambda. I'll end up going more into detail probably in the speculation video about why I chose Lambda. But long story short, the reason why I chose Lambda was kind of throwing together this Excel spreadsheet, right? So let's say it's $30,000, and then you also have like Team Treehouse, which can give you most of the educational content that Lambda has at $3,000. And so you have to put a different value on everything else. And that's where my conclusion ended up. But I'll go more into detail in another video for that. Continue with my experience. I got admitted. I was actually then officially invited to the official Lambda School Slack, which I thought was a lot of pretty cool. I was getting to meet other students in my cohort. Now let's go into the curriculum of Lambda and what kind of made it interesting versus other options. The first part was that it was 9 months, and that's actually kind of a downside. I don't want to be unemployed for 9 months. I'd rather just be employed as soon as possible. But I did end up looking at like a couple of other boot camps, especially something like Hack Reactor, like probably one of the front leading pioneers of the industry, in my view, is that they started at 9 months, but Hack Reactor or like Flatiron and General Assembly, they all had smaller courses ranging from 3 months to 5 months to 6 months, but none of them were as long as 9 months for a full-time program from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that basically raised the first question: is this too slow? Right? Like, you're either gonna come out with way more information than all the other programs, or Lambda just goes easy on its students and basically just spoon feeds them relative to other programs like Hack Reactor. My own personal learning is that the faster it is, the better. So that's why I went through the curriculum. So this is actually publicly available. I actually know that a lot of students go here to go check out the intro class, which is actually kind of free. This was, I think, one of the pre-course lessons they've had before they moved to Replit, or this apply.lambda school pre-course. But yeah, so if you look on the left here, this is actually, I'm going through the website. So you first start off with the fundamentals. You spend like a week just learning Git, a week on learning basic JavaScript fundamentals, and then you start going into applied JavaScript for a whole month. Then you actually learn React on your second month in. So that was already a bonus for me, just because React is one of the frameworks and skills I was looking to pick up when I considered the course. Then, advanced state management. Okay, so like the third month in seems pretty good. Then you start learning about the back end, right? Roughly about the fourth month in, when you get to web APIs and you start learning about Node.js. And I was also told that you can choose Node.js, or you can also choose Java. So you could choose either one for your actual backend. And then finally, you actually spend a month, which I think is good, just because you could become a front-end developer and I guess not know anything about efficiency, but this is a full stack curriculum. So it's nice that you actually do spend a month on computer science, where you get an intro to Python and object-oriented programming, hash tables, blockchains. I'm not really sure why this month comes so late compared to everything else. Maybe they just wanted to make this whole entire front end very design-based and very hands-on learning, and then they'll teach you the theory later. I'm not really too sure. Then you spend a month on Lambda Labs, where you actually spend a month, I think, working with other students to actually get a killer app out. And I think this is the main app that you and the other students probably work together to try and market and get out there so that you look very employable to businesses. And this was a key feature that I was really attracted to. I guess other programs also have capstone projects that can show that they're very hands-on and that they're employable. So it's not specifically unique to Lambda. Well, I guess this is actually a month and a half, right? Because it's 6 weeks. Each of these numbers represent a week. So computer science is actually a month and a half, and Lambda Labs is a month and a half. But yeah, like I'm saying, it's not specifically unique to Lambda. Look, the curriculum is solid. I think that the curriculum can fill up its 9 months correctly. And to be honest, I think that the curriculum itself takes 7 months, but they give you a 2-month cushion, or the 8th month is going to be spent on career development, and it's probably going to talk about like what current technologies are hot right now, what you need to do for interview practice and so forth. And then Lambda Next, I think, is just a series of projects that you do while you're looking for a job. I thought the curriculum looked legit for 9 months. I'm still, once again, I haven't taken it yet, and I also haven't taken anything else except that Udemy course. I do feel like that Lambda's curriculum is not worth $30,000. Lambda has other external considerations that's not curriculum, non-technical value that they can add. Just because, look, if you were just concerned about curriculum and you already had a network, you already had contacts in the industry, and all you wanted was pure technical knowledge, I would suggest that you not consider Lambda, you drop out if you're already in it, and try to go for like teamtreehouse.com, right? Try going on Flatiron School with actually Flatiron School is like half the price of Lambda, or even Team Treehouse, 5 months, it's already shorter. I mean, you won't get the exact level of curriculum, but I mean, it'll be shorter, it'll be cheaper, and then you can use your spare allocated time and money to make up what you missed inside the Lambda curriculum. And also, I'm not like, I think I just ended up choosing Lambda just because it had the best combination at an acceptable price. Now, the other part was there was common complaints when I was going to Lambda about how the curriculum kept changing. I can see how that can be a negative, but really I took that as a positive either way, just because if it's bad curriculum is getting improved or it's staying up to date with the industry. I don't know, like maybe they had a good curriculum and then they changed it downwards, which would be the worst case scenario, but there's nothing to suggest that. The only complaints in the reviews that I've read was that they just changed the curriculum. They didn't really say that it was changed for the worse. And then I already talked about how I don't think the curriculum justifies the $30K. What I also like with the curriculum and how it was designed and organized is that you'll probably spend some time either early in the morning, because I'm on East Coast time, so I actually start my classes at 11 a.m. or I'm assuming you'll start the next day's class late at night, and that's where you learn and look at the intro on your own. Then the next one, then my day starts. Then we're going to enter a warm-up and then a lecture period, and that's where I'm going to work together in a class with the instructor. And then after that, they're going to set you loose around 1 p.m. where you actually have to review everything and make sure you get everything all nice and together before like a 7:30 p.m. It's going to be pretty intensive, but I like how, they're there, they're guiding you. But once again, this is not unique to Lambda. Other schools also do this too. You'll have to justify why you want to go to Lambda to make you think it's worth the $30K. Now, one of the other things I've observed as a downside was that there seemed to be a lot of communication struggles, and I think the main communication struggles stem from the fact that there was more students applying this time around my cohort, and that there are 2 Slacks. I noticed that the actual main Lambda school Slack was hugely more active. Staff is always very responsive there. Once you're actually admitted though, so that's the trick. Once you're actually admitted, you finally get the treatment from staff. But before you're admitted and while you're waiting for your application in this weird limbo, you kind of get the cold shoulder, which makes sense to a degree. I actually haven't talked to people that have been rejected, which is also kind of weird. I don't know if they just get the cold shoulder entirely or if they get a flat out rejection email and then they just get kicked from the Slack or from the admissions Slack. But either way, the communication troubles also varied. We're not only limited to the admissions. At one point, I think the dates changed and the time slot changed. I think my cohort was supposed to start on the 12th, a full week from now, but I'm recording this on the 4th of August. So my cohort was supposed to start on the 12th originally is what I've heard. Instead, it got moved to starting on the 5th. For me, since I applied a month early, that's fine. But imagine if you applied all the way back in January and you made time, like you wanted to set a vacation up, and all of a sudden you just can kind of get screwed. Like you might have to drop a wedding that you want to attend to in between that one time period. So it caught a couple students off guard. And from what I've heard, the students claim that they were not informed of this change. So, and once again, this is disgruntled students mentioning this in Slack. That's where I observed this. This wasn't on like some review forum. This was like students saying like, hey, when did this change happen? It kind of caught me off guard and kind of screwed over my part-time job. The next one was a couple of times they tend to have automated email messages like, hey, did you sign the ISA? Did you do the pre-course yet? It makes sense. It's a reminder, but they were worded in such a way like it made me panic because like, yes, I did the ISA yesterday. Did you check? I think that those automated email messages did a little bit more harm than good because it increased my level of confusion. It would have been better if instead of giving those emails, just tell the student, hey, check out this admissions monitoring website that we made so they can see the progress bar. Like, how Domino's like puts in your pizza and it's just like, hey, your pizza is being assembled, then your pizza is being cooked, and now your pizza's out for delivery. Do the same thing with your admissions. Just have a progress bar and show or a checklist about what's being done. I think that would have been much easier. That being said, this is still a way better process for me than, applying back to colleges almost a decade ago. That was horrible. You pay like $70, send in like this 20 page PDF application. You mail it to the colleges colleges, and then they'll get back and you mail it to the colleges on Halloween, and they get back to you like sometime in I don't know, March or April. That was such an awful system. So in relation, this was way better, much more fluid. One nice thing that I really liked was that in the admission Slack, every single night they would do a stand-up meeting. And a stand-up is just a fancy term for just a get-together on webcam. One of the TLs, they're equivalent to TAs. They're just called team leads, but they basically serve the role of a TA in the school. Was two TLs was Lloyd and Megan. They were great. They were there to take any questions from students, early questions. And I think the original goal of Lloyd's and Megan's stand-ups was to help students get through the pre-course. So students that were completely new, because I had like about a 1 month head start on everyone else when I got halfway through the web developer roadmap. I mean, not through Cole Steele's web dev course. So I didn't struggle with the pre-course, but if people jumped into Lambda right away, instead of spending a month to review it, they could come here, ask for assistance completely free of charge. There were students that were just studying to pass the pre-course. Lloyd and Megan were great. They were just always helping out people. And the better part is there weren't a lot of beginner students attending the stand-ups. In fact, the most common people attending the stand-ups were kind of overachieving students or students really excited to get into a coding boot camp. So what I found most amusing was that we weren't even talking about the pre-course half the time. Half the time we were talking about a little bit more advanced projects, or they were giving advice and insight to about what it was like to attend Lambda school. Maybe it was like some super secret guerrilla marketing that they had by putting Lloyd and Megan in there, but I thought it was great. They were like able to give good advice to incoming students. Get ahead and stay ahead of the curriculum because it does move fast. Make sure your JavaScript is really good. Make sure that when you jump into React, try not to fall behind because that's a struggle for some people. Big kudos to them. The other part was that despite all these communication struggles, everything happened when they said it would, for the most part. Minus announcements, like when they said that, hey, class is going to start on this day, it started. Hey, when you are going to get this specific ISA, you're going to get it. For me, in my experience, everything still happened on the deadline. So no matter what, they might change the dates or something, but I guess when they finally stick to the deadline, they do stick to it. The last part about my admission was that about 2 days ago on Friday, there was an orientation. I did not attend it. I actually went out with the Boston Lambda students, and we all went out to get dinner and drinks together on Lambda's dime. Actually, Lambda paid for the dinner. We paid for the drinks. But I watched the recording of the orientation, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of thankful I didn't go. The whole entire thing could have been a PDF. I mean, just flat out, I don't think it had any new information. The big value out of the orientation was that it finally kind of humanized the process, because if you didn't attend the stand-ups, like that I mentioned out earlier, those nightly webcam meetings with the TLs, Lambda was just kind of this random cult/organization on the internet. So when you finally attended the orientation, you could see other students next to you that you're going to study with, or just Jasmine itself, your student success coordinator. It helps put additional faces on the organization because they are an online school. So I think that was like the biggest thing. And I think they should have just doubled down on that. They should have just doubled down on humanizing the organization and each other. I think it would have been more fun if they just broke out into specific TL groups, and each TL would run a group of 10 to 12 people. And they might even I can't believe I'm saying this, but they could just even run icebreakers. A bunch of people online running icebreakers would have been, I think, more value add than the orientation that was originally organized, because really they just went over Slack etiquette. They went over online communications. They went over I don't know, it could have been an email, to be honest. If they really want people to know how to use Slack, or they should just add a test. One of the Lambda challenge questions should just be how to use Slack, or the orientation could have been cut down and smaller. Either way, the orientation was also optional. It was advertised as optional beforehand. Now, what I've actually done to prepare, so I actually stopped progress on the web dev course once I got accepted into Lambda about a week ago. I've just been reading Eloquent JavaScript, which I thought was a great introductory book to JavaScript, which is, going to be one of the fundamental building blocks as a web developer. And then also this course on Intro to React, which is also free. You just need to put in your email and sign up, just because React is one of the main JavaScript frameworks that you probably will have to focus on. And another funny part was that I was given access to the training kit early. I think for a bunch of students, they just gave me access. Also, I forgot to mention that I made a dark mode. This is how the Lambda School site normally looks like. I just can't read it. It was bad for my own eyes. I made a dark mode, and I also center aligned and justify the content so that, you don't have to read from one side of the screen to the other. You can I think it just increases readability. And that's available. I'll put a link down into the YouTube description below. It uses the Chrome extension stylus, and this is the URL for it. Okay, Yeah, so that sums up my quick experience. Overall, relatively painless. There are some things where I think that could have been more streamlined, and I think that the biggest things that they can do is to try and humanize, try to put as many faces as they can. I can kind of see why Austin is just like always on Twitter trying to show like, hey, this XYZ Lambda student kind of just got hired, or these are all the Lambda students that are taking selfies with their offer letters. I think that's kind of cool. It really shows like the very human impact that they have, and as an educational institution, that's what you should be, demonstrating. That's why you always see those University of Phoenix or the weird, what was that, Institute of Technology, IIT, or whatever it was called, always talking about their students like changing careers, going into this specific career. I think that they should have doubled down on that in orientation. But aside from that, overall, it was a pretty positive experience. Especially, the best part was the meetup. The Boston meetup was just great. Shout out to Zach for organizing that. Had a great plate of half ribs. All right, so this video is going on a little bit too long. I'll talk more about the speculation in another video.